What if I told you some of the richest looking people you see every day are actually the most financially stressed? The designer clothes, the luxury cars, the expensive dinners, it all looks convincing. But behind the scenes, there's often debt, anxiety, and zero real wealth. And the scary part? This trap is so normal now that most people don't even realize they're in it. So today, we're breaking down 10 clear signs someone is faking wealth. Not to judge them, but to make sure you don't end up doing the same thing. Last Sunday, I was sitting at brunch with a group of friends when something caught my attention. A guy walks in, dressed head to toe in designer. Gucci belt, off-white sneakers, and right there on the table, perfectly placed next to his drink, were the keys to his BMW. Not in his pocket, not casually dropped, but displayed like a statement. Everything about him screamed money. But then the bill came, around $60 each, nothing crazy. And suddenly that same guy started scrambling, checking his bank app, moving money between accounts, asking if someone could cover him and he'd send it later. That moment says everything, because what we're seeing more and more today isn't actual wealth, it's the performance of wealth. People putting enormous effort into looking rich while being financially fragile behind the scenes. And this isn't about judging others, it's about recognizing a trap that's easy to fall into. A system designed to make you spend money on looking successful instead of actually becoming successful. So let's break down the signs. The first thing you need to understand is what I call the entry-level luxury trap. Luxury brands don't just sell to millionaires, there aren't enough of them. So they create lower-priced products that still carry the brand name. A $500 belt, a $1,000 pair of sneakers, an entry-level luxury car. These items aren't designed for wealthy people. They're designed for people who want to feel wealthy. And that leads directly into the first sign, the logo to net worth mismatch. Genuinely wealthy people rarely rely on visible logos. They don't need validation from strangers. But someone who feels financially insecure often uses brands to project success. If someone earning an average salary is consistently wearing high-end designer items, the math usually doesn't add up. It's not about the item itself, it's about whether it fits their financial reality. The second sign is what I call base model badge chasing. This is when someone buys the cheapest version of a luxury product just to get the logo. A base model luxury car with minimal features, but it still carries that badge. The irony is, many times a fully equipped non-luxury alternative offers better performance, comfort, and value, but it doesn't carry the same social signal. So the decision isn't about quality, it's about perception. The third sign is what I call the visible versus invisible wealth gap. Real wealth is mostly invisible. It's investments, savings, assets, and financial security, things you can't see on the surface. But someone performing wealth often flips that ratio. Most of what they have is visible: expensive clothes, a nice car, flashy experiences. But behind that, there's very little financial foundation. If someone's lifestyle suggests high spending, but their income or situation doesn't support long-term wealth building, that gap becomes obvious. The fourth sign is the subscription lifestyle. In the past, luxury meant ownership. Today, it's often rented. Leased cars, rented designer outfits, financed everything. It creates the appearance of wealth without actually building any. You're paying continuously for access, but you're not accumulating assets. And over time, that adds up. You end up spending more while owning less. The fifth sign shows up clearly on social media. When every post is about expensive meals, luxury trips, or high-end purchases, it often signals something deeper. Not always, but often. Because when someone is secure financially, they don't feel the need to constantly document it. The experience is enough. But when someone is performing wealth, the documentation becomes part of the experience. The value comes from how it looks to others. The sixth sign is inconsistency. Someone who is truly wealthy tends to live consistently. Their lifestyle doesn't change depending on who's watching. But someone cosplaying success often has two versions of themselves: a public version that looks polished and expensive, and a private version that's very different. They might dress differently depending on the setting, use certain items only in specific situations, or carefully control what others see. That gap takes effort to maintain, and it usually reflects insecurity, not wealth. The seventh sign is how they talk about money. Someone building wealth tends to talk about growth, investing, saving, long-term strategy. They think in terms of assets and returns. But someone focused on appearing wealthy talks mostly about spending, what they bought, where they went, how much something cost. It's a completely different mindset. One is focused on building, the other is focused on showing. The eighth sign is the absence of what I call boring wealth. Real financial security is often boring. Emergency funds, insurance, retirement accounts, consistent investing. None of it is exciting or visible, but it's what creates stability. Someone performing wealth usually ignores these things. They prioritize what's visible over what's foundational. And that leaves them exposed, because when something unexpected happens, there's no safety net. The ninth sign is a dangerous one: high fixed costs. This is where the lifestyle starts to collapse. Expensive rent, car payments, subscriptions, and debt obligations take up most of their income. On paper, each expense might seem manageable, but together they leave very little room for anything else. That means any unexpected expense becomes a problem, and the only solution is more debt. And the 10th and final sign is what I call the stress contradiction. This is the most revealing one. Someone who appears wealthy should, logically, be relaxed about money, but often it's the opposite. They have expensive items, but they stress over everyday expenses. They hesitate over small costs, avoid certain situations, or constantly worry about money. Because the truth is, those expensive items didn't come from excess money. They came at the cost of financial security. Look, this isn't about judging people for wanting nice things. Everyone likes good stuff. That's normal. The problem starts when you sacrifice your future just to look successful today. Because real wealth isn't loud. It doesn't need logos, validation, or approval from strangers. It's quiet, stable, and honestly, a little boring. But that boring wealth, that's what gives you freedom. That's what removes stress. That's what actually changes your life. So next time you feel pressure to upgrade your lifestyle just to impress others, pause for a second and ask yourself, am I building wealth or just performing it? If this opened your eyes even a little, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. I'll see you in the next one.